Boys and girls, welcome back. Happy Friday, which means F1 Friday on today, man. Hopefully I can get this video out for you guys today. If not, it'll be tomorrow morning. Uh but quick note in the F1 news world, my boy Logan Sargent, man. I'm kind of getting a bit worried about Logan. I think he spun out again in FP1 and FP2. It's not looking too great. It's not looking too good. Has not had a really good start to the season. Thought some people thought he was going to take a bit of a step, maybe challenge Albon. I didn't think he was going to challenge Albon, but I thought he was going to be a tad bit better. You haven't really seen that this year, and obviously he didn't drive like the last race because since he crashed his car, they just gave his car to Albon. And they just had one Williams driver, and this time we're in Japan when it's been like raining stuff like that over there. He spun out again, I think FP2. So hopefully he tightens up. Hopefully Logan tightens up. But hey man, it's not looking too great. It's not looking too great. But today, we're going to check out 10 bad career moves F1 drivers never recovered from. And remember, go back to Danny Rick. Are we kind of seeing him with Danny Rick? Remember, he went to McLaren. And has he really recovered from that? I know he needs more time, stuff like that. But has he really recovered from that? So we are going to see. Shout out to the race. As always, top tier. Let's start, man. Let's just start. Don't forget to start the video and stuff, man. Let's just start.
Switching teams in Formula One is a gamble. Most of the time, drivers are heading into an unfamiliar environment, hoping it'll be better than where they were before. Sometimes you get it right, like Lewis Hamilton did, switching from McLaren to Mercedes for 2013, and sometimes it goes very wrong. In this list, we take a look back at 10 drivers who made moves that their F1 careers never recovered from. The reasons for the change don't have to have been their fault, and in some cases it might not have been their choice to move. But all we are looking at is when a change happened and that driver's F1 career never properly rebounded from that moment. So let's begin. Number 10, Roberto Moreno. Benetton to all sorts. The majority of Moreno's F1 career was spent toiling in woeful machinery, so this wasn't so much a career that never recovered, but a case of one that went back to normal. But it's not often you get a chance to mention Michael Schumacher and Andrea Moda at the same time, so this was too good to pass up. Moreno got the Benetton drive in late 1990, replacing Alessandro Nannini after the Italian's horrific helicopter crash.
Ooh.
But by the Belgian Grand Prix of the following year, Moreno's days were numbered. Schumacher had turned heads by qualifying 7th on his debut for Jordan, and when Moreno arrived in Italy for the next round, he walked into a contractual circus as Benetton desperately tried to snatch Schumacher from Jordan.
Yeah.
Moreno was collateral damage in all this, and he held out for $500,000 in compensation from Benetton.
I don't blame him.
After 2 races at Jordan in the seat vacated by Schumacher, he moved to Minardi for the season finale, then switched to the new Andrea Moda team for 1992. But Andrea Moda were a joke of an F1 team, so after less than a year spent driving for a front-running team, Moreno found himself back in hopeless machinery, somehow managing to qualify the car in Monaco. Unfortunately, he'd never drive a credible car in F1 again.
Dang.
Number 9, Jean Alesi, Benetton to
Thanks a lot,
Sauber.
Schumacher.
Alesi's stock was high throughout the first half of the 1990s. His giant-killing performances with Tyrrell earned him an offer from Williams that he turned down for a dream drive with Ferrari, and he then moved to reigning champion Benetton for 1996 as a Grand Prix winner with high hopes. But Alesi's single victory for Ferrari remained the only one he'd ever take. Benetton struggled in the wake of Michael Schumacher's departure, although senior figures from the team believe it should have won races in 96. Gerhard Berger had joined Alesi in making the switch to Benetton from Ferrari, and Ross Brawn felt the two drivers didn't work well together. Having been a man in demand earlier in the decade, Alesi slid down the grid to Sauber for 1998, and he was destined to spend the rest of his career in the midfield, retiring in 2001 after stints with Prost and Jordan. Number 8, Ivan Capelli, Leighton House to Ferrari.
It seemed like obviously the first one with like Moreno, Schumacher just been like, hey, like we got something special here. You gotta go, my boy. And then for the last guy, Alesi, whatever, it just didn't really seem like it was it didn't seem like it was gonna work. It didn't seem like it was gonna work, unfortunately.
Capelli was in dreamland when Ferrari came calling in late 1991. With doubts rising over Alain Prost's future with the team, Capelli was plucked from Leighton House, where he'd occasionally put in some exceptional performances in recent years. He signed a contract that said he'd drive a Ferrari-powered Scuderia Italia car if there was no room at Maranello, but Prost's abrupt sacking cleared the way for 1992. And if you want to hear more about what happened there, check out our new podcast series Bring Back V10s, which revisits stories from a classic era of F1. Unfortunately, Capelli's arrival came at the same time as one of Ferrari's worst cars, the F92A. He scored 3 points before following in Prost's footsteps and getting dropped before the end of the year. Capelli only started one more race in F1 with Jordan the following season, before leaving the team after failing to qualify for the Brazilian Grand Prix.
But the car sucks.
Number 7. Michele Alboreto, Ferrari to Tyrrell.
The car sucks.
Alboreto came closer than most to winning a world championship for Ferrari in the 1980s, finishing runner-up to Alain Prost in 1985.
I don't know who they are.
But by the end of 1988, he'd been usurped as the team leader by Gerhard Berger. With Nigel Mansell coming in for 89, Alboreto returned to Tyrrell, where he lasted just 6 races. He was replaced by Formula 3000 racer Jean Alesi.
I'm not gonna cap. Just looking at the Tyrrell car, you just know, man. Like, you just know it's not gonna be a good time. Like, look how this plane it looks. Like, it just looks disgusting. No offense, but like, just look at the car, man. Like, come on now. Like, we could add more designs to it, more like logos. It seemed like they just spray painted it blue and then add his name and then the team name. No wonder.
Races. He was replaced by Formula 3000 racer Jean Alesi for the French Grand Prix, amid confusion about whether he'd fallen out with the team or if its new sponsorship deal clashed with his personal sponsors. The fact he ended up driving for another team that year with the same sponsor suggests there was something more to it. But Alboreto's F1 career never recovered from leaving Ferrari. The rest of his time was spent driving underwhelming cars, and after leaving Tyrrell, he only scored 7 more points for another 67 starts.
Jeez.
Number 6. Nelson Piquet.
Piquet.
Williams to Lotus.
Piquet
won 3 world championships between 1981 and 87, but when he left Williams to take the number 1 to Lotus for 1988, his career as a true top liner was over. Lotus failed to make proper use of the Honda engine that propelled McLaren to 15 wins from 16 races that season, and its 1989 car was even worse. Piquet has explained that there are 2 reasons for his downturn in fortunes. He believes his nasty crash at Imola early in 1987 cost him over a second a lap in pace, but he managed to disguise it well enough that year to still win his 3rd championship.
That's pretty good.
But he was unsure if he wanted to stay in what had become a toxic environment at Williams, and when the team didn't express that much interest in keeping him, he looked around for offers. When he got to Lotus, where he was being paid handsomely, the car was lacking in so many areas that he felt there was nothing he could do to fix it.
That's unfortunate because Piquet was winning championships with Williams, and then the final they don't really want you. But like you said, obviously, like, there was some like possibly internal like disagreements going on. But like, dang, like, I won y'all like championships. Like, maybe we can talk about it, but if it's that bad, then yeah, I gotta go. But you went to Lotus, then hey, shit hit the fan.
believes he could have won more championships if he'd stayed with Williams, as he could have convinced Honda to stay with the team as well. He never fought for a title again, but salvaged something from his career with a 2-year stint at Benetton that produced 3 victories. But the arrival of Michael Schumacher in late 1991 was the final signal that Piquet's time in F1 was up. Number 5, Damon Hill, Williams to Arrows.
What the hell is Arrows?
Hill could be forgiven for still wondering to this day why Williams decided to get rid of him when he was on his way to winning the World Championship in 19...
I'll say, Williams has done some really questionable stuff, it seems like. They seem like they got rid of Damon Hill for some reason, Piquet for some reason. I mean, no offense, but like, isn't some of Williams' like downfall from like the 80s and 90s kind of self-inflicted? I know like we did like a whole video about like a year or 2 ago, but like now I am like thinking about like, isn't some of their downfall self-inflicted to a degree?
96.
Like, what are we doing?
The news came so late in the year that Hill was scrambling to find a seat, with Arrows and Jackie Stewart's brand new team his only options. Hill took the number 1 to Arrows, and aside from almost winning in Hungary, it was a year to forget. A move to Jordan brought a brief career renaissance and a famous victory in 1998, but the following year Hill was all at sea, and after a failed attempt to retire from F1 mid-season, he bowed out of his final race by retiring a healthy car because he'd had enough. Number 4, Eddie Irvine, Ferrari
how do you feel
to Jaguar.
a retirement?
Irvine's stock was high in 1999 as he fought for the World Championship with Ferrari after Michael Schumacher broke his leg at Silverstone.
Eddie Irvine.
Ford's investment in turning Stewart Grand Prix into Jaguar for 2000 promised big things, and Irvine made the switch to get a shot at leading what he thought was going to be a major player in F1. Ferrari had already decided to replace him with Rubens Barrichello, but Irvine managed to delay that news getting out long enough to play a strong negotiating hand with Jaguar. However, when he arrived at the team, he was shocked at how far behind it was the leading outfits, believing that Stewart had got lucky with its car for 1999. Irvine felt Ford didn't understand F1, and it failed to invest in the team properly, having paid a massive amount to buy it in the first place. He stuck around for 3 lucrative but ultimately disappointing years with Jaguar, which was a constant mess at management level until Ford finally pulled the plug in 2004, selling up to Red Bull.
Good.
Wonder how that turned out.
Yeah.
Number
yeah.
3, Jacques Villeneuve, Williams to BAR. Rumours of Villeneuve and his manager Craig Pollock setting up a new F1 team started as early as 1997, and for 1999 British-American Racing was launched, with the Canadian making the switch from Williams. The big money team failed to back up its ambitious targets, not scoring a point in its first season. Things improved for 2000 when Honda supplied works engines, and at this point Villeneuve's reputation was still intact. Villeneuve believes signing for BAR in the first place wasn't a mistake, but turning down advances from other teams and re-signing for 2001 was. At the end of that year, after Villeneuve took the team's first podiums, Pollock was replaced as team boss by David Richards, who Villeneuve felt was determined to destroy his position in the team. Before the final race of 2003, Villeneuve left the team that had initially been built for him. He returned for 3 races with Renault in 2004 and landed a full-time drive with Sauber, but he left F1 for good in the middle of 2006 after BMW had taken over the Swiss team. Emerson Fittipaldi, McLaren to Fittipaldi.
I will say, like, it's not always sweeter going from a good situation to like a potential good start situation. Like, times it does work, but times it doesn't. And we have seen in this video, you've seen Irvine, Fittipaldi, like other drivers as well. Like, you're leaving a good position, a good place to try to, to go to like, a BAR, stuff like that, which is like, which you feel like, okay, I've done pretty good in F1. Let me go to this team, be the main driver, a startup team, and guess what? Shit the bed at times. It doesn't always work.
The first 70 races of Fittipaldi's career brought him 14 wins and 2 world championships from 1970 to 75 with Lotus and McLaren. Then he made the surprising decision to join his brother Wilson's new Kopasucar-backed F1 project.
See, that's fam though. I get that.
In 5 years, he scored just 2 podiums with the struggling team,
Jeez.
eventually switching to a management role in a bid to turn its fortunes around. The team folded in 1982, and while Fittipaldi never raced in F1 again, he enjoyed a renaissance as a driver in IndyCar, winning the championship and 2 Indy 500s. Number 1, Fernando Alonso, Ferrari to McLaren.
Geez. Yeah.
In some ways, every move Alonso made after winning back-to-back championships with Renault had a negative effect on his career. After falling out with McLaren in 2007, he went back to a Renault team that was no longer the same force that took him to those titles. His 5 years at Ferrari took him close twice, but his gamble at the end of 2014 to rejoin McLaren for the return of Honda was a switch he would never recover from. Honda was dreadfully underprepared for F1's V6 hybrid engine regulations, and McLaren spent the next 3 years feeling that pain as Honda produced underpowered and unreliable engines. Alonso had a few other words for them, but you'll have to search the internet to find those.
Oh, jeez.
Alonso stuck around long enough to see how McLaren would fare with Renault power for 2018, but But without the engine as an excuse anymore, the deficiencies in McLaren's car were exposed badly. But his somewhat prickly history behind the scenes left him with a reputation that meant none of the established frontrunners were willing to give him that final shot at the big time.
It'd be like that.
Those are our 10 drivers that made F1 career moves they never recovered.
It'd be like that. Hey. So we've seen with starting off, like, just, obviously Felipe did it because of, like, his brother and stuff like that. We have seen with, like, Moreno and guys, like, it's just been a bit like bad luck, Capelli, Alboreto, but, like, some of these drivers, man, like I said, it's not always greener going somewhere new. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm content and happy, with getting, hot wings, my traditional, buffalo wings. But I'm like, listen, let me try out this new flavor, like honey hot barbecue with Parmesan cheese on top of it. It's probably not gonna be that good. Plus, that's a lie. Like, it's not gonna be that good. You know what I mean? So, sucks for these drivers. Or I have had good careers before their potential mistakes, you could say. But the Damon Hill one is weird though. Like, trying to move on from him after what he was doing with Williams. Like I said, man, Williams is weird. But you guys let me know in the comments down below you guys' overall thoughts about these. Don't forget to like the video, sub as well. Race weekend. See you guys then. Peace.